Today is a big day in the art room because we're going to assemble our artworks inspired by Andy Warhol. You should have two papers, one that'll be our background with the grass and one that we'll use to cut out our flowers. In the middle of each of my flowers, I'm going to write the first letter of my first name. That way, after I cut it out, if it falls on the table, I'll know that it's one of my flowers and not someone else that sits at my table. Then we'll need to use some scissors to carefully cut. My thumb will go through the small hole and my hand will go through the big hole. Let's practice how we can use our scissors with an empty hand. I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to open and close. I'm keeping my other fingers together and I'm opening and closing. Open, close, open, close. Now let's see what that looks like with scissors. Thumb goes in the little hole, two fingers or my whole hand if it fits go in the other hole. And I open, close, open, close. That's the motion to use scissors. My other hand is the hand that's going to do the work of turning the paper. So if I was cutting out this square, I'm using my other hand to support the paper. This hand's job is just to open and close. Open, close, open, close, open, close. And if you want, we can even make cuts at different times. So I would cut when I get to a corner, the other hand does the turning. And that's how I'm going to cut out my flowers. When I get to a corner, I can stop, turn the paper, line up my scissors, and slowly close. Now, cutting slowly and safely will be really important for us with our flowers. I'm going to start with one of my flowers, and I first have to cut towards the edge of this black line. And then I'm going to try to stay close to the black line. I'm using my other hand to turn the paper. If your flower isn't the same as mine, that's okay, because this is your first time doing it. To make it easier, it might be helpful to start out by cutting on the 4 lines. So I'm going to cut all the way across, all the way across, and all the way across. This is why we put our initial on the back of those flowers, so we know whose is whose. Because I have 4 separate pieces now, it's going to be easier to cut it out. Remember, it works best if we go slow. So I'm opening and closing my scissors with my scissor hand, and my other hand is turning the paper. Your goal is to try your best. It's okay if it doesn't look like mine. I've been practicing cutting for more than twice as long as you've even been alive. And this might be your first time even using scissors. If you need help, you can ask for help. But our main goal is to try our best and to move slowly and safely. When you're done cutting out your flower, you can move on to the next one until you have all 4 flowers cut out. The extra paper scraps you can push to the middle of the table so that I can collect them later and put them where they need to go. When you're done cutting out your flowers, they might look something like this, and you'll be ready for the next step. Our next step that we might do is adding some extra decorations with oil pastels. Oil pastels are like very soft crayons, so we can use them to decorate. I'm not going to add many decorations, maybe just a little bit. Maybe I'll add some dots in the middle and a line around the edge. I'm going to try to stay close to that line that I cut. It sort of is going to make the petals stand out just a little bit more. When I'm done with one flower, I'll use the oil pastel to decorate the next. Remember, of course, to share and take turns. When we're using art supplies in art class, it's good to remember to work as a team because we can take turns and work together. There's my line that's going around the outside. It's almost like I'm connecting a shape that looks like a letter. What letter does this look like? A letter U. A letter U shape works well as a petal for a flower. The last thing that we need to do is attach our flowers to the grass. So I've got my flowers. Depending on what school, we might use either glue stick or liquid glue. Either way, the glue is going to go on the back of the flowers around the edges. Right now, I can think about where I want each of my flowers. Do I want them to be touching? Do I want them to be spread apart? It is important that we keep our flowers on the inside edge of my paper. I don't want the flower sticking over the edge like that. Can I have my flower like that? No, I have to keep my flower all the way on the paper. I think I might do a design where the flowers are overlapping a little bit. Maybe something like that. So I'll start with a flower that's behind, and I'm going to put the glue around the edge of the flower. When I'm gluing the edges, I'm going to dip the brush in the glue and then paint it around the edge like if I was painting. So I'm going to dip. I just need a little bit of glue, not a lot. And I'm going to put the glue around the edge. I like liquid glue because it holds onto the paper really well once it's dry. It does take some time to dry, but once it's there, it's going to stick really well. When I'm not gluing, I can either set my brush where it goes or gently balance it in the glue, and then I will flip my flower over and gently smooth it onto the grass. I'll glue my other flowers the same way. Does glue go in the middle of the flower? No, it goes around the edge. I am painting my glue around the edge. You can see it looks shiny. I know it's hard to see white glue on white paper, but if it's looking shiny, you'll know there's glue there. And we really don't need a lot. It doesn't need to be thick glue. Just a thin amount of glue should hold your flower. And then I'll put my next flower down and smooth it till it's sticking. When you're done gluing your flowers, it might look something like this, or it might look different if you put one flower closer to each corner. When you're done gluing, make sure you listen to the adults for more directions about cleanup. Nice job with your beautiful artworks.